Okay, for the chapter 9, I posed the case 3 as well. This is the last case that I would like to talk about for hypothesis testing. Case 3 is test for hypothesis for the proportion. Okay, if you see any wording in the question saying about the proportions, which means percentage, 百分比啦，呢個 OK percentage proportion, so you have to use the case number 3. This part you have to be careful. You use the new test statistics in here. So the first number is simply the same, which is talking about the sample proportion. Okay, and then the following 3 numbers are actually the same. It is the number tested in the null hypothesis, so you should put it in here. And while the n is the sample size. Okay, so this part you are using the set test as well. So take a look for an example in the page number 12. Page number 12. Okay, so you have a group of data is suspected if they have equal proportions of males and female. 300 people are selected and 180 are male. So you are going to do the things like testing at 5% significance if the group is equal sex or not. Okay. Do remember that we have a words of proportion. So first of all, the step number 1, you have to set up the hypothesis. This time, be careful. You have to use the p, not the mu. Okay, and then why 0.5? Because if it is equal male, female, so then will be 50% boys and then 50% the girls, right? So 50% means the 0.5 for the proportions. Okay, so and then the next one, because we have already taken out 300 people and 180 are the male, so therefore the sample proportion should be 180 divided by 300, so which is 0.6. Okay, and then therefore you put 0.6 in here. So the number being tested is 0.5, you put here, and this is also 0.5. This is in fact 1 minus 0.5, and then divided by 300, okay, because we have 300 people, so that's why the answer is 3.4641. Okay, this case is a two-tailed test because we are only testing if they are equal to 0.5 or not. Okay, so this is a two-tailed test. In fact, if it is a two-tailed test, so you draw a diagram with a set test diagram, and then because it is a 5% significance level, in fact you divide into 2 parts, so which is 2.5 and 2.5%. So this is reject null hypothesis, this is reject the null hypothesis, and the middle part is null hypothesis should be true. Okay, so at the end what you have to do is that check the set table, which you have already learned many times as well. Okay, so checking the set tables, in fact it is 1.96, this is negative 1.96, and the number you have calculated is 3.4641, in fact this is in here. Okay, so what's next is that you should reject the null hypothesis, right? Okay, so the group is considered to have unequal sex proportion because this one is true, this one is rejected. Okay, so therefore we accept this one and then write down the sentence. And the last part that I would like to say is like page 6. Okay, so this part is just make a notes for the definition, because some of the cases we have type 1 or type 2 error. This is in fact due to the sampling error. Due to sampling error. And then calculation is wrong. So due to the sampling errors and the calculation is wrong. Okay, so sometimes the true condition is that the null hypothesis should be true. So if we do not reject the null hypothesis, we make the correct decision. However, because maybe you pick up some sample which is having a bias, 即係有偏差啦, so therefore the numbers you calculate make you reject the null hypothesis, and therefore you have made a wrong decision due to the sampling errors. Maybe you calculate the sample mean incorrectly. If you calculate sample proportion incorrectly, so make you reject the correct statement. Okay, so the type 1 error is equals to we reject the null hypothesis which should be true. Okay, if it is true, then we should not reject it, but due to sampling errors, maybe the sample mean, sample proportion have some mistakes and then bias, so that make us reject the null hypothesis. So this is called type 1 error. So versus the other case is that the type 2 error is that if the null hypothesis should be false, we should reject it, right? But due to the sampling error make us in the rejection rules, we do not reject it, so we make up the type 2 error. So type 2 error means that do not reject the null hypothesis which is false. Only memorize the definitions, and then this is the end for the chapter 9.